You are about to enter the 21st century of terror. Nightmare Weekend. A group of college students were invited to spend a pleasure weekend in a mansion. But instead experienced a nightmare weekend. Nightmare Weekend. The first high-tech terror film.
Greetings, rotters. How horrible to see you. Welcome to Maynard, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best, worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. I've got a few slabs of housekeeping for you before today's episode, so here it comes. If you are listening to this episode on the day of release, that's Monday the 28th of November 2021, our Black Friday Brain Rot t-shirt sale is still on until tomorrow. So you can get our Metal AF t-shirts for just £10 of flesh. However, I will also accept £10 sterling, so grab yourself a bargain by going to steviesbrainrot.com while we still have a few left in stock, and we do ship internationally, so don't let that ocean dissuade you. Also, this week on Patreon, I will be joined by Louise Blaine to discuss 1989's Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. What a title. I haven't seen it yet. I cannot wait. This has just had a really beautiful restoration release from Arrow Video, both physically and on streaming platforms. So check it out and then join us over on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Stevie's Brainrot to sign up for just £5. The link is also down below in the notes. Lastly, there was something else. What was it? Oh yes, I'll be doing a little roundup episode around New Year's Eve time, where I will talk a bit about my favourite horrors of 2021, and I'll also be answering your questions, a kind of mailbag episode, I suppose. So I'm going to start collating your cues. If you have something to ask, or just to make a statement that you'd like read out on the show, then email that over to steviesbrainrot@gmail.com. Okay, now on to the main event. Last time Emily Head was on Brain Rot, back in the early days of season 1, she had her dad to keep her company, and their assignment was to watch 1987's The Gate, a fun, family-appropriate film. I decided to bring her back alone this time and give her something a little more out there in content and explicitness, so I chose the baffling 1986 sexploitation horror Nightmare Weekend. What I hadn't planned on was that she still sat down with her family to watch it. Emily, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me back.
Under quite different circumstances, I'd say.
Very different circumstances.
Yeah, because back in the spring 2021, I invited you on in the early days of Brain Rot, and actually you lucked out because I chose The Gate, which was actually 1987. I can't believe that was made after this film, which was it was more of a studio film. It had a budget, and it had a plot and a narrative, a beginning, a middle, and an end, fleshed out characters, humans, all those sorts of things. And then, this time around, I've thrown you a bit of a curveball because I thought you got away way too lightly. But before we talk about it, what have you done? What have you been up to between then and now?
Well, between then and now, I wrote a play.
Oh.
Yes, well, I wrote a play before I spoke to you last, but since I've spoken to you, I've now performed it. We did a live stream version of it. It's a one-person play, and we did a live stream in August of this year, which is now online, available to view.
Oh, so you can. So it's still on. It's not just that one
still
live.
On, yeah. Well, no, so we recorded it live and then put the live recorded version online.
I see.
So yeah, it's a one-person play shot on Steadicam in one continuous 70-minute shot.
Oh, where did you do it?
We did it at the New Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich. Original Theatre Company produced it. And Ben Ely was our wonderful camera op who spent 70 minutes walking around with a very heavy camera. And
Sweet.
the lovely Guy Unsworth directed it. And yeah, it's still available until early December.
Okay, well, great. Well, then that means we've got like a week for when this, by the time this is out. Yeah. So, well, I will put, is it just a link?
Yes, so it's on originaltheatreonline.com, I believe, and it's in the productions. The production's called The System, and
Amazing.
You'll see a picture of my face. And yes, The System, written and performed by Emily Head.
Amazing. Right, yeah, the link will be down below for anyone listening. That's very exciting. So now moving on slightly. I really don't know where to start. What are your what are your general thoughts about 1987's Nightmare Weekend? And what did you expect going in as well?
I really didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I tried not to look into it too much because I wanted to get the full value watching it. Now I regret that decision. I genuinely don't know what to say about it, which is not great for a podcast about it, but it was utterly bonkers. I watched the trailer beforehand, or the first sort of 30 seconds of the trailer, and I was like, oh, this looks like fun, schlocky, bad graphics, kind of, not even graphics, bad
Just
makeup.
quality, everything.
Yeah, and it'll be hilarious. And then all of the sex came.
Yeah, yes, it's a proper 80s exploitation film disguised as a horror film. Like they chuck in a few things to try and get the horror fans in, and it's just a sexy. I say sexy. It's a sex-filled exploitation film.
Yes.
And I like, part of me, I can't tell whether this entire plot was written and planned out, or if they literally made it up as they were going along. And then I don't even know which of those two options is worse: that the fact that it was planned, or the fact that they just didn't know what they were doing.
I read apparently that it was being rewritten on set a lot. So that makes sense. But I don't know how much of it was planned in advance. If anything at all. I think I spent most of the film just going, what? I know. And I think I love that they've taken the tech angle, because obviously in 1987 things were moving quite fast, and things were getting exciting involving computers, and so they're like, oh, I know what would be a really big pull. We'll have a computer and a computer puppet, but they're not the same, and they shouldn't attach to each other, because then things can get out of hand. And then this almost alchemy of turning watches and various implements into, or even sometimes a plastic bowl, into a killer metal ball. Where did this come from? I don't understand. I don't know.
And just some of the performances are incredible. And I really like that. I think women are really portrayed very well in this film. I think it's really true to life. They're all just incredibly, incredibly horny, have no moral standards, and are basically just pieces of meat.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I felt really, really well depicted.
Represented.
Yeah, very well represented.
Yeah, it's fantastic. To be honest, and I think the guys are pretty accurate as well. They're all sexual deviants.
Yeah.
They're they get a bit rapey.
Yeah.
Yes, and but I do actually, something I do like is the bad guy, or the bad woman is actually this Julia. She's is it Julie or Julia? I think it's Julie.
Julie, yeah.
I like having her as the villainess.
Yes, I think
Choices.
you're right. Yeah.
She makes choices as well.
She does.
Well, let's sort of talk through this.
Sure.
I'm not going to say main plot. I'm going to say sort of sequence of scenes that happen to be put one after another.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I didn't realise what this was going to be, so I watched it with my parents.
Right.
I'm visiting my parents this week, and I was like, "Oh, this will be a bit of fun. Let's watch this." And I wouldn't recommend that to any of your listeners. Watch it by yourself.
Oh my goodness!
So just bear that in mind as we go through.
Oh, and especially once all that sort of stuff starts, you know what kind of film it is, and you know every time a girl comes on, she's gonna go, "Oop!" Just whop a tit out, or drop a towel, whatever it may be.
Oh,
wow.
God.
Okay, yeah. So before we sort of talk about it, do you have a little synopsis? I'm
I
really
do.
intrigued to see how you can. I'm going to imagine it if I don't know anything about this film. I'm going to listen to the synopsis and see what I come away with.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Nightmare Weekend. A film that combines all your classic 80s movie staples. It's got Walkmans, pinball machines, and flexed biceps. You want aerobics? It's got it. Motorbike races? You bet. Confusing plotline? Absolutely. You may find yourself asking, is it an 80s horror film? Is it softcore porn? Well, the answer is yes. So grab the popcorn and your parents and watch Nightmare Weekend. Who knew a horror film could make you feel this uncomfortable?
It's so true. I love that that's got just this slight tinge of anger and regret in your synopsis. It's really coming from, I watched this with my parents.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Yeah, you did a pretty good job. I'm glad you
Thank
sort
you.
of stayed away from the kind of narrative, because that's a whole mess, which we will get into now.
You don't want to give anything away, not in the synopsis.
No, absolutely. The opening, anyway, I think it's almost a good start, because you have these two guys and they're sort of breaking in. They're saying, we need to get into the mainframe. But we also, it's intercut with a puppet.
Yes.
Saying, danger, danger, danger.
But also, I don't understand the puppet angle, first and foremost. I just don't get why it's there. And why the puppet looked the way it did, the weird wiggly hair thing. It's so weird, but it's not creepy like Chucky creepy. It's just, the mind boggles.
It's very uncomfortable. And the thing is, I could understand if I, stretch my imagination a little bit, if this wizard sort of father that Jessica's got, if she's created this mechanical sort of computer puppet for her, which I think is what it's meant to be. And I'd understand if he did that, if he was sort of keeping her locked down, like she didn't go out, she didn't have friends. And so that, I was like, oh, maybe that's her only friend. But then she pops on some roller skates, goes to the local bar, and I was like, so that's not it. So maybe it's just she doesn't know. There's actually just a fully grown man in her dressing table with its hand up a puppet.
That's kind of how it... Because that's the thing as well. Like, it is just a puppet. It's not... Yeah. It doesn't seem mechanical in any way. It then has to use the computer, but just presses the buttons on the computer. Like, it's not like he's connected to the computer in some way. But don't know.
She could do what he does to control the computer.
Yes, absolutely. She's like, set up the card game. Do it yourself.
Yeah. Something I also don't understand. So at the beginning, we later find out one of these guys is Ken, who becomes a very interesting character, and I don't know where his loyalties lie with anyone. But he has a matching necklace with his best mate. I say best mate. It seems to me there's more there because it's one of those ones that fits together. Like a Forever Friends. Do you remember Forever Friends?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. It's almost heart shaped.
Yes, and so his mate's necklace comes off, and the necklace. Right, this is what I don't understand: the mechanics of this machine. It creates these metal balls that once you swallow, I mean. Why would anyone swallow one?
Accidentally, which is supposed to happen a lot.
Yeah. And they are huge.
They are massive. They are so big.
Yeah, like golf balls.
They are golf ball size.
Yeah.
If it was like a little ball bearing, you'd be like, oh, someone accidentally.
Yeah, right. So it has the power to turn certain personal objects, like a watch or a necklace, into one of these personality-changing balls. However, these balls just tend to sort of apparate and then enter the body anyway, whether it's through the eye or through the stomach or through the neck.
Yes.
Cool. I don't think it's ready, this machine.
No. But if someone swallows it, then it changes their personality.
That's right. Yes.
But if it goes somewhere else, it just kills them.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I mean, they don't example it very well when it goes, oh, look at this ferocious dog, we're going to change it. And it's exactly the same.
It's just a panting dog.
Just a really nice,
just a panting dog.
Really nice, thirsty dog.
Yeah. Basically. Yes. Yeah. But then it was only on 50%. That was made
That's
clear.
right. Yes, of course. That'll do
but
it.
100%, that's danger zone. But yeah, in the opening, so he manages to pull his necklace off without any resistance whatsoever.
Yes.
And leaves it on the side.
Yeah.
And then that turns into this ball. The puppet's involved somehow.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't swallow it, but it goes into his eye.
Yes.
But then his eye pops out.
So yeah, it's an interesting physiological moment, isn't it? Because you'd think going into the eye would push it backwards, but actually it sort of seems to have gone behind it somehow and pushed it forward. That, I mean, he must have had a pre-existing condition, because that eye was
definitely.
hanging
on by a thread. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Then we get the incredible opening song, Nightmare Fantasy, which was written for this film by performed by Miriam Stockley. I've looked it up already, and I'm obsessed with it. It's proper 80s power ballad and made it seem really serious. Yeah,
very serious. And also, Ken, no expression on his face to seeing his best friend.
No, and he apparently he's upset later when Julie goes, "Oh, don't blame yourself, it's okay." And I'm like, I don't think he does. He seems fine.
He does a little kick somewhere, a little
that's right,
kick.
But I think she's projecting that onto him.
Exactly, absolutely. That's peak emotion for Ken.
Yes, she's being emotionally manipulative.
Yeah, definitely.
We get two dancers limbering up, and one of them we find out is Jessica, who is the daughter of the scientist who is partners with Julia or Julie. Yeah, fine. I like this immediate exposition we get where Jessica's best friend goes, "Hey, did I tell you about the experiment we're doing? A whole weekend with nothing to do but relax and get studied by some nut. You'll love it." What are you talking about? Did you hear what you just said? Studied by some nut. Can you hear yourself?
And all we'll do is relax. It's going to be great.
Right, and I love that Jessica never cottons that, oh, that's weird, because my dad does experiments.
Yeah.
And he's probably, I can't imagine how many incredible tech scientists there are in this small area.
Absolutely. And that no one ever asks the other where they're going for the weekend.
No, that's right.
Whereabouts is it? Oh, your dad's house.
And I actually thought that they were in the same house for a very long time,
so
not seeing
did
each
I.
other until the very end.
Until the very end, yeah.
When she goes,
exactly the same.
He's over in the mansion. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is a different build, right?
Yeah, and then Ken's like, oh, look, it's the building where... Is it Ben?
Ben died.
Bob
Yes,
died, Bob died, yeah. So it's literally down the road, but yeah, sure.
So what did you think of Julie Klingstone as a character?
Julie, baby. I mean, sure. She's there, isn't she?
Yeah, I like they let us know that she's the bitch, because the first time we see her, she says to the maid, "Hey, you're a slut, just like your mother." And you're like, whoa! What? She didn't do anything. She's cleaning. What do you want?
I'd completely forgotten about that. That was the beginning.
It's like, fucking hell.
Just really deep exposition, like, which never comes up again, ever.
No, I was like, oh, it's going to be something about her mother's going to be important. Like, she used to work here, or her mother died in an experiment. No, she just calls her mum a slut.
That's it.
So that we get the kind of character that Julie's going to be. Cool. Oh, wow. But obviously the girls, it's three girls, and they've agreed to this weekend away to get experimented on by a nut, as she so delicately put. And so the limo picks them up. This is where we finally see that actually the puppet, George, is hers, and it's in her room.
Yes.
And as we said, it might just be a pervert under a dressing table that she's not been told about yet. But he connects to Apache, which is the mainframe computer. Wow, it's tenuous, all of this. And so she plays this computer game. Mm-hmm. And it's a racing game. And we find out that actually in the real world, it's controlling Julie's car.
Yes. Yep. Julie loses control of her car. and then is just fine.
Yes.
I'll just drive off again. We've missed the flashback motorcycle race, I think.
Wait.
I think that happened prior to this. Julie, for some reason, was there, and Ken and Bob were there, and they had motorcycles that were driving very slowly but sped up by computers. And then they had to pick up a tin can, and then someone stole the tin can, and then a truck came, and that nearly killed Bob, but it didn't. But then Ken, who's upset, who's got, his best friend's got the other half of the necklace, has both necklaces.
Yes, I saw that. He's got the one on and one in his hand, right?
Yes. Yes. But then later says, oh, my best friend had the other half. And it was the other half that turned into the ball that killed him. So already.
Awesome. Well done, guys. Continuity on that is fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. Definitely. So so Julie's car gets taken over, but then she's just like a bit shaky, and then it's like, oh, chill.
Until later when she does it again and it crashes without her in it. And then she goes, oh, someone's on Apache. And I'm like, hang on, did you not think maybe that was happening when you were at the wheel and it was going on a death race? You stupid woman. The girls go, oh, I'm thirsty, right? Okay, So they stop on at, it's a full-on club/bar for a refreshment. And we do find ourselves in this bar quite a lot during the running time of this film. Yeah. So they all pair off with guys within 40 seconds.
Oh, if that. And my favourite part of that was how disinterested she was in the man at the bar. And then he says, what does he say? He says something like, what about this? And shows her his flexed bicep. And she's like, yeah, fair definitely. Enough. And then they're just dancing.
Yeah.
Badly.
Pitch black in this place with neon. It's like a 3 a.m. But outside it is completely broad daylight.
It's
and
midday.
The whole place is made up of windows. It's amazing.
It's
it looks like it's in the middle of a motorway as well. It's just not easy to get to. You've got to really want to drink.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so after a good flirt, they all leave without actually getting any refreshment, which is what they stopped for. If anything, they're more parched when they left.
Yeah. The guy with the Walkman.
This is what I think we should probably put on the table to have a chat about.
The guy with the Walkman who is in a bar with music that other people are dancing to. But he has his Walkman on and is just hip thrusting all over the place. Yes. And then the guy who's paired off with one of the girls whispers something to him. So then he hip thrusts to the car.
Yes.
And stabs the tyre and then jiggles away.
Right.
All of which is odd, obviously. And then it cuts to him hip thrusting by his bike while the car is broken down. And his friend is in it.
And he's hip thrusting the lady. Yes. So I paused and I tried to logically work out what is going on here and what the plan was. So I guess the plan is his mate slashes the tyres so that it breaks down nearby and he can have sex with one of the girls inside whilst the spare tyre is being fitted by the driver. And then once he's finished with her, it's not too far to walk back to the bar.
Yes, I think.
Well, actually, I've got to say, well executed, if that's the plan. That worked really smoothly.
It did go really well.
It went really well.
But if you were to stab a tyre, surely it would just... you'd lose all the air out of your tyre there and then.
Straight away, you'd know.
You could still have sex in the back of the car while the spare tyre is being fitted.
Yes.
Why did they continue to drive?
This is true.
And then the other girls get out and are just on the... And why did the other guy follow him on a bike? Why is he there?
Yeah, why did he chaperone it?
Yes.
It's not okay.
No.
Cool. So, Julie and Edward is the name of the scientist, the good scientist. And he doesn't want to do human experiments. She does. She says Apache is ready. Yeah, because it does. Apparently, oh, God's sake. It causes an entire personality reversal, and they've tested it on
Yes.
animals. So if it's an aggressive animal, it goes placid. But if it's a placid animal, it goes aggressive. Is that right?
No, well, so, right, hang on. I wrote it down. So it causes loss of inhibitions and suppression of fear, rather. And basically it does that by the synthetic neurons short out and replace the natural ones.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes. Now, yeah.
So
Got you.
at this point, they've just said that it just causes loss of inhibitions and suppression of fear. So the dog that was a mean dog, but wasn't a mean dog, but was supposed to be a mean dog, was now docile. But there's never any kind of inkling that it could go wrong anywhere else. And also, what is Apache? How is Apache this thing that creates these silver balls that go into people? Apache creates the balls and also is connected to a car, but also just Julie's car, no one else's car.
Yes, that's true. But this is okay. So we'll talk about it more when we get to it. But then it also knows whenever Jessica is in danger, and it can connect to something nearby, such as a rapist's watch.
But only if he's not wearing it.
Well,
it had to have fallen off first.
Yes.
To then turn into a ball, to then kill him. And in that instance, it could kill him and not just make him docile.
Right. Yes. Well,
That
it
one had
completely mutilates him and explodes him.
Yes.
Which is interesting that it's also explosive when it wants to
Yes.
be. Jessica, though, she dresses in her hot little red number with matching roller skates and goes to our favourite bar. I mean, what is this bar? So there's the couple on the pinball machine.
Yeah, the pinball king.
The pinball wizard. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one. Yeah, this is interesting because this is full-on public indecency.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And so she watches that for a bit.
And he's still playing pinball.
Yeah,
while
he's playing
having
pinball
sex
while
with
he's
his girlfriend,
doing
he's still...
all sorts. And she also has a little moment with the guy in the white shirt.
A little frisson.
Which is
with
Ken. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and it's very, very brief. And then she leaves. Why does everyone go into this bar, stand there for 5 minutes, and then leave without ordering anything? Like, how does it stay afloat?
No idea. Absolutely. Well, we find out later that someone else has bought it.
Yes,
so...
that's right. And we know that because he's now wearing a suit to show he's now a businessman. Yes. But she rolls back out into the midday sun, and then she has a huge monologue on her bed that goes on for a very long time about this feeling she's having to the puppet.
Yes. She feels cold and then hot and up and down. And she needs diagnosing.
Yes.
And George, the puppet,
we have to always say that just to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about. George the puppet, yeah.
George the puppet, diagnoses her as being in love.
Yeah, it's quite something, that moment. Because it's creepy though, because she's acting like a 12-year-old at this point.
Yeah,
it's all like, oh, I got this funny feeling, this guy. Yeah, but I think is he looking for her because he breaks into the other girl's house, which we thought was the same house. One of them catches him. He goes, oh, I'm maintenance. And she goes, so she drops her towel and starts kissing him.
But he puts a towel on the hidden, not so hidden camera.
Yes.
To hide it from Julie.
Understand why.
I don't understand why either.
That motive threw me.
Yes.
I sort of.
Because then he didn't kiss her back.
No, he kind of shoves her off, and
then she goes, "You never get what you want."
Yes. Well, no, not like that. You assaulted him.
Yeah.
You got nothing from him, no vibes from him to suggest that he was up for that.
No vibes from him whatsoever. He was just.
And you've got the other girl.
Wrong.
She's doing a striptease for a guy. Actually, she's the opposite. So he tries to kiss her while she's got her tits out, and she goes, "Oh gosh, not so fast, you!" And I'm like, "What do you mean, not so fast? You're naked, and you are literally
fully naked as well. Literally fully naked, all clothes gone.
Yes,
he's fully clothed, which makes it weirder. And then he tries to kiss her, and she's like, "No." She says something about I don't know, some car thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, she jumps in the shower and one of the balls shoots in her mouth and she's just dead in an instant. But is she?
But
because
is
she comes back in the bedroom with new eye makeup.
Yes, she does.
And then she sexually attacks him.
Yes, but all she does is growl around on top of him.
Yeah, she goes, rah, rah, rah.
And then nothing, and he looks scared for too long. And then nothing else happens. She's just, nakedly growling.
It's very interesting. And that's another thing that's quite irregular. The effects of the ball and what it does to people. It does different things. I mean, there's one guy later who starts melting yellow liquid, and I'm like, what? I don't know what's happening with these balls.
Also, actually, so it has to be something that belongs to a person.
Yes.
And then that's how it knows to get them. But up until this point, it's been an item that turns into the silver ball in place of where that item was. But now she's got personal things of these people that they disappear, but then the silver ball appears from nowhere and just lands in various places. Yeah,
there's a couple of rogue silver balls, I think, sort of running around the house after people for some reason. It's very interesting. This is a very interesting moment. So she's all loved up, Jessica, and George, the puppet, advises her that hitchhiking is a great way to reunite with the guy that she fell in love with. That's not safe. George, I disagree. Hitchhiking.
Also, how do you even know he's going to be on the road?
Exactly. Eventually, he will rock up. But of course, actually, the sexual deviant, the publicly inappropriate guy, rocks up. And, the pinball wizard. And then, he chases her around on a motorbike, catches her, sexually assaults her, and that's when George links up to Apache. And this is the guy that he explodes.
Yes, this is the gentleman that explodes.
The
gentleman that explodes. One of my favourite exchanges is between the two of them when he pulls up. She thinks it's her fancy man, and it's not. It's the pinball person, and she says, "Get lost, you miserable creep." And he says, "What?" And she says, "I thought you were somebody else." And to that he responds, "Nice talk. Maybe you're not such a little innocent virgin after all."
Yes, that's right. Where did
she
that
says,
come?
"I thought you were somebody else." And he's like, "Oh, maybe you're not." What?
That's not a response to what she said.
No, not remotely. So then, yes, as you say, then he goes around on a bike after her. She pushes him and his bike over, and then we jump cut to him pulling her onto the ground and taking her clothes off.
Which is interesting, yeah.
Which is interesting. And then, yes, as you say, then his watch falls off, then the ball appears, because George somehow knows that Jessica is in danger.
Yeah, he's got a symbiotic connection with Jessica somehow.
Yes, and has full control of the computer.
Wow.
And then it goes into his neck.
Yeah.
And then Ken... wait. Ken appears before that, doesn't he? Yeah. So Ken appears...
And he explodes in the lake, and then Ken appears... and saves her. And then they have a chat like they've been in a relationship for years.
Yes. Everything changed the day I met you. Today was the day that they met.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, oh, can't you just be with me tonight? Oh, sorry, I've got to make that delivery. Not even for me. What? You haven't spoken before. What is this relationship? And he's like, it's important for our future, baby. What? You don't know his name. You haven't exchanged names.
Also, he's just saved her from being attacked. She's topless, so he gives her his shirt. So now he's topless. And instead of just taking her home, he takes her to the local petrol station. And they have this really in-depth conversation about how he's doing it for their future.
Yeah, and he stood there with his top off. It's really strange.
It's so strange.
So to bring things back to normality, Julie lets a tarantula loose in the kitchen.
Yes, she does.
Pops it in the sink. It's And that's when Ken arrives at the house and goes, "Hey, this is where my friend died." Like,
yes,
no shit. Yeah. I think you know that, surely.
Absolutely. One would think.
Jessica... Even when approaching the house, not when you get right up to it.
Yeah, and it's a really, really up close, tight shot on just the corner of the house. Like, you don't even get the full building. I think that's probably because it might have been filmed in the same place, which is where our confusion lay, perhaps.
Yes. good call. Very
Yeah.
good call. But then we get a twist, I guess, because Ken's obviously at the house, and Jessica and Julie are sort of calling each other bitches and
Yeah.
every little tip. And Julie goes, "Oh, me and Ken are together," and they kiss. And then Ken says, "Jessica, let me explain. You were
Jessie,
just
please."
talking about your future with her, and the delivery. What?"
Oh dear. Yeah,
But
yeah.
we've got some stakes.
We do. The stakes are getting higher. Oh yeah, no, and then that. Yes. The talk about the day that they met comes in a minute. Actually, it wasn't when
Oh no, the gas
they were
station.
having their. Yeah, no, they were when they're having their deeper.
Oh, that's
meetings at
right.
the gas
Yes.
station.
Oh, yeah, because all these dates have turned up for the girls, which I
Yes.
imagine were arranged at the bar. Is it the guys from the bar?
Yes, so it's the guys from the bar. It's also the same guy that got growled over, isn't it?
That's
I
what's
think.
confusing. And it's also the same girl who turned into a zombie.
No, I think because right. So the three of them are there.
Yeah.
And she's just looking in the window a lot, the one that got turned into a zombie. So she's not
That's right,
growling
you're right.
anymore. She's just zoned out. 'Cause
Yes,
that would
that's
be that the ball has now made her docile like the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, so then the other two girls, but the two brunettes do look quite similar. One just
there you
has
go.
long hair and the other has short hair. But yeah, the guy who had been there before, he's the one who's now bought the bar. And then
Yes.
says to the chauffeur, "Hey, what's going on at the house with all those girls?" And then they arrive. The dancing man's there with his
Yes.
Walkman.
Of course. It's very interesting. I really like the time frame for him, though, that he was getting drunk in the bar at midday, and by 4
Yep.
p.m. he's bought that very bar.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's amazing.
It's
so they're all-
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. So they're all there, and it didn't look like it needed new ownership. It seemed to be doing very well. Actually, was it doing well? No one was buying anything, to be fair.
No, the only drink that we see there, well, there are two drinks that we see there. One that the barman overpours because he's watching the couple
right.
have sex on the pinball machine. And the other one is a hip flask sandwiched between two pieces of bread.
Yes.
So probably not from the bar at all, actually.
Yes.
So maybe it did need new management.
Maybe it did, yeah. So there is now a sequence of truly baffling things, and
Yes.
I've written them down in an order
Okay. Yeah.
so that I can see if it makes any sense retrospectively. So I'm just going to say
I
what
doubt
happens, and then we'll discuss.
Okay, we'll discuss. Okay, great.
So
Yeah.
a metal ball hides itself in a bowl of sugar. The maid makes a cup of tea using said sugar, sees the tarantula, screams, drinks the tea out of fear, and then the ball ends up in her mouth. She
Yes.
collapses, then wakes up and starts kissing the tarantula. And
Yes.
a guy who has had sex with the blonde girl goes to sniff her panties while she's brushing her teeth. There's
Yep.
a silver ball in the panties. It shoots in his mouth along with the panties, whilst the ball has also made its way into her foamy mouth while brushing her teeth.
Yes, correct.
What is it?
I have no idea. That sex scene as well between the blonde and the other guy and the Walkman man was the most uncomfortable I was throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
It was so long, so unnecessary, and just lots of kissing of his naked back and then her naked back. So, uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's always that same position, like in the limo. I think the
Yes.
director really lets us know his preference, doesn't he?
Definitely. There's a lot of bare feet as well, so I think that might be
Be something
a
he's
thing.
into.
Absolutely. So yes, the right. So the ball going into the sugar, then somehow into her tea without her realizing.
Yes.
And no wonder she didn't realize, because you can see it on screen. It literally doesn't go into the cup of tea. It
No.
doesn't. The ball is nowhere near it. Actually.
No, she doesn't. I don't think she puts sugar in her tea.
She does put sugar in her tea, but she
Oh, but
doesn't.
you see the giant
You see
ball.
the sugar go into the tea. It is a spoonful of sugar and not a spoonful of a silver ball.
Okay.
But then, yes, she's so scared by the spider that she doesn't leave. She stands next to it screaming for a while. And then, yeah, shaking hands, drinks her cup of tea. Ball is then in her mouth, but doesn't kill her. But then we do have this very interesting overlay of the spiral light on people's heads when they've
Which
been...
is new.
That is new, because it didn't
This
happen
is
to the
only
dog.
just in. No, this has just been introduced to the film.
Yeah.
Nearly halfway through. More than halfway through. Yeah.
Yes. And then we cut away to the sex scene, and then he is talking about her underwear. As you say, picks up her underwear, goes to sniff her underwear. The ball has rolled its way inside. That was the point that me and my parents were going, oh my God, she's gonna put her underwear on, and then what happens?
Where's it gonna go?
But no, this poor actor has to roll around with a pair of knickers in his mouth on the bed
Screaming.
for such a long time.
Whilst pulling it taut with the other hand. So it looks like it's trying to get in.
Yeah. And then we get a shot of another silver ball rolling into what it looks like it's going to roll into her toothpaste. And she's brushing her teeth with the toothpaste on the toothbrush. No silver ball in sight. Then we cut to her foamy mouth, ball in mouth. So somehow it had snuck into the toothpaste. Again, why is the ball this big? Like I could buy it if
Make it a ball bearing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Something digestible or ingestible at least. Yes.
Yeah, but these gigantic golf balls that
Ridiculous.
she's somehow managed to get into her mouth. So yeah, so. But
It's
then
quite a
they
sequence.
just lie there going like, ugh.
Yeah.
But the girl in the kitchen, is now kissing the spider because she's not scared of it anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know how those connect.
It's incredible, isn't it? And then Jessica and Ken have made up. Like, she's forgiven him. And she's
so
like,
quickly.
again, they're like having a really weird, awkward, sexy time.
Yeah.
And
So
we hear her inner monologue, though. And again, this is something we haven't had before. 15 minutes before the end of the movie, we're now introducing the device of inner monologues. Cool.
It's great. Wonderful. And never hear them again. Just that once. Mm-hmm. It's because George wasn't there for her to speak to, that's why.
Yes, of course.
So what my favourite thing about this awkward, naked kissing leg scene is that every time they cut to the wide, they're fully clothed again. And then they go in to the close-up.
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we want. Cool. That was it. So obviously the wide shot was... before they convinced them, do you know what would make this scene better? If you were naked?
Exactly.
We're going for a type.
And then this is where we had the conversation about his best friend that wears the other half of the necklace, and that he'll tell her about him one day. At this point, I thought they were brothers, but then
you'd think the way he's acting.
Yeah.
There was something more there.
Definitely.
That's why you might think brothers. Now, I'm very confused about the abilities of the ball again now, because one of the balls turns into a cube of ice.
It does. Yes.
And the girl eats it.
Yeah. And then it shoots her backwards.
Yes.
Into the swimming pool. And then she's splashing about in the swimming pool just with the ball in her mouth for a while. Again, sometimes the ball hits a person and they explode. Yes. Sometimes their eye pops out, and sometimes they just hold it in their mouth for a really long time. Yeah,
that's the preference, isn't it? Just like behind the teeth for a while and never spitting it out, just letting it control them from the soft palate upwards and downwards. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, and this is when they sort of start turning into zombies. But, we got Julie. She knocks out the professor with a battery.
Oh, yes, because the professor's back now, and he's aware now of what Julie's doing, because he didn't want to experiment on humans. It was too soon to experiment on humans.
I agree with him.
I absolutely, totally agree. But he was the one that set up the experiments, right? The girls
100%.
are there to be... Yeah. Okay.
That's what's
so
confusing.
There's that.
He does know they're there. It's not like she's doing it behind his back.
Yes, he's aware that they're there, but also doesn't ever go and check on them. But there's another man who just is on the phone all the time, who's paid Julie a lot of money for what? I don't know. I still don't know what he's paid her for.
Yeah, the crooked business deal, isn't it? That she is, and she's promised half of the money to Ken if they steal the mainframe or something. But we never find out who this slightly half in shadow, fat, middle-aged white guy who wants the machine is.
No, never find that out. So yeah, as you say, the dad comes back, the scientist comes back, and he gets knocked out with a battery, which is like it's the least aggressive moment in the entire film.
Yeah, the sexual attacks are much more aggressive.
Yeah,
The several attempted rapes are much more aggressive. Yes, quite
Definitely.
But yeah, it's quite gentle. She goes easy on him. Yeah. And then it was at this point when I found out there's 2 different houses, because she goes,
Right.
she sends Jessica back to the mansion and she gets in a car, and I'm like, well, this is interesting because I've definitely seen Julie within 30 seconds being in one building and then the next without driving anywhere.
Yes. Right?
100%. But anyway, this time, all of the girls pretty much who have been hit or eaten the ball have spiky teeth now. One's brushed all their hair out. One's melting.
They've got green stuff coming off their faces from nowhere. So now they are just zombies. One's got like half her cheek missing.
Yes, and a big blown up lip and one spiky fang. Yeah, so now it's like mutant shit going on. This isn't like computerized.
No, Dad's tied up in the bathroom at this point as well.
Yes, right. Of course. He's being very resourceful though. He's like,
yes, he's managed to find
with
a
razor blade,
Stuck it in a
stick that
Lucy.
in. Yes, so he could get the ropes off his arms. Then he rips out the electricity.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Then he comes to Jessica's aid. Julie leaves
because he knows that she's going to be there for somehow.
Of course, sure.
She must be.
There's
at the
absolute
mansion.
carnage going on everywhere now, and I don't know what's going on. Not that up until this point I did know what was going on. And then we find out that Ken is waiting by a chartered plane for Julie.
Oh,
and this is the big plan.
Yes. So yes. Right, hang on. Right. So Jessica's been attacked by all of these girls. She also at this point knows that her friend is there. She's not known that before.
Right,
Anne,
her best
and then
friend.
Anne turns around and is a zombie. And then instead of running away, Jessica sits down in a chair. And then Julie tries to convince her that it's all her dad's idea.
Yes.
Don't understand why any of this is necessary at this point. Then the dad comes in, wasn't my idea, or Julie's. Then you're right, yes. So then Julie gets in the car and Ken is at an airport.
Sure. It's like a hangar, isn't it?
And and he's right. He's gone and got all of the money from San Jose. Have we heard of San Jose before?
I don't think so. And it's been written in his name, the check.
Yes, the check, that was her big mistake. The check was written in his name.
A big mastermind idea. And she let him get the check made in his name.
And he
also,
says, I've got the video. What video?
Yeah, that. I've got the video.
What?
I don't know.
And what have they been paid for? Because surely, okay, so, right. If this other man, who's the half-shadowed man on the phone all the time, if he's paying for this
mainframe,
computer, Apache, the mainframe,
yeah,
he still doesn't have it.
No.
He doesn't have anything, actually.
Back at the house, and the plug has been pulled.
Yes.
So what's she got?
Don't know.
Because and also, this business guy is not very good at business if he's already paid before he's got the product.
No, exactly.
Millions. He's let go. He's passed millions of dollars over, and he has not even seen the machine.
No.
Wow. Well, do you know what? This is more bully for him.
Sure. I mean, Julie
scammer.
was onto something. Yeah, quite, yeah.
But of course, then, Ken is waiting for her by the plane, but while she's en route, says, "Aha, I'm double crossing you because the check is in my name. You can't do anything." We see that there's one of the zombies is in the back of Julie's car, and then she gets out at the hangar, and it slices her throat, and then we get a really sad ending.
But that neck slice was actually very impressive.
Yes, it's good.
Like, it was actually good. All of the other various bloodied moments were, for want of a better word, ridiculous.
Yes.
This was actually quite good. Like, you see the bare neck and then just a little slit in it and then all of the blood gushing. I was genuinely impressed by that and absolutely gutted that I've waited an hour and 15 minutes for something that I thought
one
was quite
set
good.
piece. Yes.
Yeah.
At the very end. So no, you're right. It is a good moment.
It's actually really good. And then at this point, Jessica has gone to see Ken. She knows that he's there. She arrives just after Julie, despite the fact that they left at very different times.
And and she was going to a different building. Yeah.
Yeah. Her dad throws papers because he's annoyed that she's going to go and see Ken.
Classic.
And then so then they're at the airport. Ken's there. You're right, he is waiting. Oh, but maybe he's waiting for Jessica.
Probably.
Right. So
but he gets a big wrench, doesn't he?
Yeah. So next
Another good bit. Jessica's shouting Ken. No one now is really in any danger from the zombie lady. Ken and Jessica could just get in a plane. Like, Yes.
The baddie's killed now.
Yeah.
So
The zombie's very slow. Doesn't seem
Crack
to have
on.
any malice.
no. Off to San Jose you go. But no,
Yeah.
so Ken then grabs a wrench
Mm-hmm.
and just stoves her head in, doesn't he?
Yeah, completely crushes her head in. And she has kind of just saved your life, dude.
Absolutely. And is George here again?
Oh my
Does
God,
George
no.
appear
So
again?
George gets his symbiotic member and goes, "Oh, she's in trouble.
Yes.
Oh, Jessica's in
Even though she
trouble."
isn't, she's miles away from
I don't know what
anything
he's
that's happening.
sensing. Either he's sensing the zombie near her or he's sensing Julie near her. Something like that. So he just assumes, oh, the danger must be Ken. And so he brings the
Right.
shutter down
Yeah.
on him,
Yeah.
which he can control because he's probably
Yes.
connected to Apache, which was actually unplugged from the wall. Ripped out. And so he brings the shutter down on Ken, whose neck gets crushed, and we end on a heartbroken Jessica.
Yeah.
And it's the most unhappy ending of all.
Yeah. But also not ending on any of the good gore. Ending on just a squashed neck.
But not even Scott. I mean, he's just lying down,
yeah,
isn't he?
He's still all right. He's all right.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
And then we get
that's
our wonderful tune again.
it. Yeah.
Wonderful Nightmare Fantasy song. Wow. I'd love to know what this listening experience has been like for those who haven't seen the film. I want to know what you are picturing. And I want you to now go to YouTube, watch it, and see if it's what you have in your head. Because
If it makes any more sense than this, and I can assure you at this point, it doesn't.
Were you, when you were watching it with your parents, were you laughing?
Yes, very much so. Yeah. So we watched the first 30 seconds of the trailer and thought, oh my goodness, this will be so funny. And then it was my mum actually that said in the first 10 minutes, oh my God, this is like a bad porn film. This was before any sex had appeared. It's like it's the acting, the style, seems like a bad 80s porno. And then it was.
Yeah, so apparently all these sort of gory bits were refilmed. Well, they were added post-production because they filmed that in New York. So a lot of it was pretty much just a B-sex movie. And then they added a lot of the... They still had the plot was that it was this killer machine. Right. But they added all the actual gore later on. So originally I think it was even less disguised.
Oh, God. And also, I read that every single actor was dubbed.
Every single one, yeah. So there were two
even
scripts.
The Americans.
So all the crew and the director were French. Most of the cast were American. They didn't know what anyone was saying. Director couldn't talk to them. So he'd kind of act it out for them and they'd copy him.
Oh, my God.
So it was a full-on hot mess. And there were two scripts. Like there was the French script and the English script, and they were very lost in translation, different copies. So the crew were working from a completely different script to the Americans.
God. I mean, it's you can tell.
Yeah,
like,
it's incredible.
Every bit I read after, I was like, oh yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah.
And then I looked at his other work and I didn't watch any of it, but the sex movie drive is very much his thing.
Well, thank you so much for watching it for me.
Well, I'd say thanks for sending it to me, but thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
It's been good to see you at least.
No, it's been good to see you. No, it's hilarious. It is a very funny film. Just maybe don't watch it with your parents.
No,
I think is
You learnt the hard way.
Would be funny. Yes.
Orcs. Amazing. Tell the people where they can find you online.
Yes, you can find me online. Well, you can find my show, The System, online
Yes.
at originaltheatreonline.com. And I'm online on Twitter at Emily_head, if you fancy it.
Perfect. Yeah.
I barely say anything on Twitter ever, but, come say hello.
You're a lurker.
Yeah.
You observe. Thank you so much. And I will see you for season 3 for sure.
Yes, I can't wait.
Bye, babe.
Bye.
Oh boy, what a hoot. These kinds of films make me so happy. I find a strange comfort in the disjointed and often nonsensical narrative of cheap exploitation horror. I love it. And the great news is there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of them. So I have content for decades to come, don't you worry. All right, you lot, if you would like to keep up to date with all things Brain Rot, just follow us on the socials. On Twitter and Letterboxd, it's Stevie's Brain Rot. On Instagram and Facebook, it's Brain Rot Pod. Also on Instagram, I have started to share some of my horror collection. I'm a big collector, and so if you'd like to see some of my stuff and my rare prized possessions, then come on over. I don't post these as much on Twitter, so come over to Instagram for that. You can email the show and get those questions in. That's steviesbrainrot@gmail.com. And as I said, the merch is at steviesbrainrot.com. I think that's everything. All right, rotters, till next time. Toodles.
You are a nightmare fantasy. You are a taker, and you have taken. I cannot sleep yet, I cannot waken. You have no conscience, you have no sympathy. You are